Sup everyone, Killer Bites here with my second video, and I felt like reading one of my fanfictions. Woohoo! I don't know how well this is gonna go. I'm just gonna read the first one because the second one I don't know about yet. It's kinda good, kinda isn't. Sorry for any grammar, and sometimes I get caught up when I read, so it might be a little harder. But anyways, you guys are probably reading it as you see it, but I will just go ahead and read it. So, yeah, I'm still sleeping over my friends, duh. But, the story title is called Wake Up. And the story description is, after a fatal car accident, Courtney from Smosh was injured badly and sent into a coma. On the other hand, the world was practically ending, as a virus outbreak had happened, and everyone fought together. Once Courtney woke up shortly after, the hospital they were in was raided, causing them to flee. They weren't really protected from the dead, but weapons and new shelter would help until they found a safe place. Sadly, many died, and some just went insane. Who'll survive? So, yes, that was my shitty description. But, let's read Courtney's Awakening. Courtney's Awakening. Ian's perspective or point of view, p.o.v. I was passing Courtney's room in the hospital, and I sighed, looking at her from the window. Poor thing, I mumbled quietly, and I felt more than guilty for crashing the car. I was drunk. It was by accident, and it nearly took most of our lives. Anthony's, Mari's, Jovan's, and Olivia's, not to mention mine. Also, I could hear yelling on the lower floors, and I knew that would attract zombies. Damn, I said as I heard a gunshot. Yeah, see, grammar. Shh, shh, shh. And as you can see, I said shoot. I meant to say shot. Grammar, I know. And more screaming. We were being raided already. Loud footsteps came up the stairs, and before long, there was a gun to my head. And someone opened the door to Courtney's room. Well, wouldn't you look at that? She's a beauty. I didn't want them to touch or do anything to her. No one would mess with one of my best friends. Don't you dare mess with her. He glanced at Courtney, and I was helpless. Mari's p.o.v. Keith was just shot, and everybody was losing their shit. I picked up my pistol and ran up the stairs. Once I saw Ian being held at gunpoint, I shot the fucker who was holding him right in the face. I had no idea about the man who was in Courtney's room, was even in there. Ian, are you okay? I asked him as I saw him quickly stand up. Shh, he said as a guy in Courtney's room grabbed my arm and started pulling me to him. Ah, I said as I aggressively kicked his knee. Enough, so I was able to aim my pistol at him and send a clear shot through his chest, and once he dropped to the floor, shocked and barely alive, I shot him in the head. I glanced up to see Courtney staring wide-eyed. I was so happy she was alive. I dropped my gun and ran to the bedside, hugging her as tight as possible, as she scarcely did back. I'll explain it all, don't worry, we have to leave, I said, letting go of her, and I stood back up straight. Why'd you kill him? She asked. He was bad, and I was using self-defense. I had to protect us. She gave me a small nod, and I heard very loud groaning coming from outside, and more yelling followed by gunshots. Ian ran into the room and almost dropped dead when he saw Courtney. You need to change, and then we'll leave, Ian said strictly, and I nodded, handing her some extra clothes I had. Ian and I left the room and entered after she was changed. I handed her a small knife, and she held it shakingly. Just in case anything tries getting you, okay? She nodded, but this time more firmly. I hoped to walk back downstairs as Ian followed, covering me and Courtney. Almost everyone was taking cover from bandits. Others were trying to keep the doors shut from letting walkers in. Keeps p.o.v. I was losing blood quickly. My heart rate slowed, and Jovan hovered over me, trying to keep the wound from bleeding. It'll be okay, just hang in there, Jovan said angrily, reassuringly, and a hint of sadness in his tone of voice, and I shook my head. I want to sleep. I coughed up blood while saying it, and he stared in shock, seeing I was dying quicker than expected. I'll get meds and stitch you up. Just a little longer, he said, keeping a towel to my wound. I shut my eyes and took a few more breaths. Jovan's p.o.v. Shit, he was going to die. I knew I couldn't save him. After a few more painful minutes of watching him cough up blood and wheeze uncontrollably, I sighed and knew he was dead. I had broken down already. Keith, I'm so sorry. Tears streamed from my eyes as I was still behind the crate. Courtney's p.o.v. I feel strange, and I was scared. How long was I in that coma? I asked Mari, and she sadly frowned. 3 weeks. I looked down as Ian grabbed my arm and pulled me behind the front desk, and I ducked down as so did Mari and Ian. Who's alive still? I asked, and I knew neither of them really wanted to answer. We have Flitz, Ian, Anthony, Lasercorn, Jovan, Olivia, you, Noah, Shane, Sohinki, and I. I listened to every... I looked down at the knife in my hand inside. This time sounding more stressed. A loud gunshot was heard, and Jovan jumped over the counter. And once he saw me, he was already in a better mood. Courtney, thank God, he said quietly as open fire was still being held. Third-person view. So Hinky and Shane were covering the entrances with furniture, so no zombies could get in. Hell had broken loose. Everyone was mad trying to protect themselves. Mari poked her head over the counter, aiming her pistol at a bandit's head. Once shot, she quickly ducked back down and peered over at Ian, then Jovan, and Courtney. If they didn't find a way out, none of them would make it. Once the whole group was together, they made a run for it out of their emergency exit and made their way into a close gas station. This will be good to loot, Shane said, and everyone else agreed. They entered it and got all the supplies that were useful. They were about to leave, and someone else had entered the store and held a gun to Courtney. Hey, we'll talk this out. Just put that down, man. He was only a few feet away from her, and once Anthony heard, he quickly went over and got in front of her, stalling time as Sohinki came up behind him and forcefully lodged a knife into his neck and took his shotgun after. Thanks, Courtney said to Anthony. And there was my first part to my story. Yes, I know, rough reading, I could tell, but I tried, and it took me a really long time to write it. Still need to go back and fix all my grammar, which I will definitely do, and you need to follow me. My account is 1223 Juby1223, so please do that. And I was right, 18 drafts. Yeah, I'm writing a lot more stories. But anyways, I hope you all have a real good day. If you do watch this video, thanks for that. And bye, my friends.